Alright everyone, welcome back to another Game Vault video. As always, I'm Captain Beefy, this is the Game Vault, and we're going to talk about Ubisoft, Yasuke, and Assassin's Creed Shadows once again today. So let's cue up the music and we'll get right into it. Alright, no one loves a conspiracy theory more than myself. I love these things. They're great. 9 times out of 10, they're true anymore, it seems. They say the only difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth is about 3 months, you know? And it seems that way a lot lately, especially in the political realm. But going into the gaming politics realm here, let's talk about the rumor that Ubisoft intentionally pushed Yasuke and Assassin's Creed Shadows to tank the company's stock price so Tencent could take it over. That's interesting. So the new rumor alleges that they did just that. They intentionally promoted Yasuke, and this would allow Tencent to take over the company more easily. For those of you who don't understand how this would work, stock price determines, if you want to own a majority of a company or buy a company, its value is determined by its stock price, right? So if the stock is $5 a share and you want to buy shares of the company, they're going to cost you $5 per share. If the value goes down and something bad happens and it devalues the company and the stock goes down to $2 a share, well, you're saving 60% off of what you would have paid at $5 a share. So now you're only paying $2 a share. And these are just rough, basic numbers to give you an idea how it works. So, in theory, you could do something that would hurt the company, whether as an outside entity or an inside entity, whatever, to lower that stock value and make it easier for someone to buy it up, which is kind of a neat theory here. YouTuber Endymion shared that an alleged insider shared with him that Ubisoft was using the implementation of this character into their game to steer public reception of not only Shadows, but Ubisoft as a company in general towards a scenario that would actually lead to a buyout. I gotta tell you, I've been around for a lot of controversy in video games, and the Yasuke one's pretty big, Is it the biggest one of all time? No, maybe not. Maybe it is. I don't know. But it's huge. It is really huge. And people are fiercely divided over it. And it's funny because the battle's fought in a couple different ways. My problem doesn't stem around the fact that, was Yasuke a real guy or not? I don't care. Was Yasuke a samurai or not? I don't care. My problem is that in feudal Japan, we're playing as a black character. And that's not because I fear or hate black people or anything like that. That's stupid. That's a stupid thing to say. It's because I wanted the authentic experience of a samurai warrior in a game about samurais, right? That takes place in feudal Japan, an Assassin's Creed game where your guy is a samurai, or he could have been a ninja instead, whatever. That would have been the ultimate experience for this game, but instead, they chose this route, and it helped tank the company, in my opinion. He explained, as I was told, Tencent allegedly was a big pusher of Yasuke becoming the main character of Shadows. Ubisoft, of course, was considering the idea, but Tencent was really the ones that pushed that vision into reality. That's interesting. Allegedly, Yasuke was pushed because Tencent knew the inclusion of his character as the leading man in a Japanese Assassin's game would raise many eyebrows and cause public outcry, which, they're right. It did exactly that, he continued. And the discussion surrounding the game has not died down since for good reason. Yeah, the game's already been put off. It's not coming out November 15th like it was intended to. It's now been pushed back to February 14th of 2025. And there are rumors that it's going to be pushed back even further. There's rumors that Yasuke is going to get a reduced or role, or he's going to be removed from the game. I doubt that. I seriously doubt he'd be removed from the game. And the reduced role, I doubt they'd even do that. That just seems like they'd have to rework so much of this game to make that happen that it would put the game into 2026 maybe. And I don't think they want to wait that long to release this. As I'm told, decisions like implementing Yasuke, which would lead to many boycotting the game, was something pushed by Tencent investors to purposely tank Ubisoft in order to weaken the company towards an acquisition, effectively leading to Ubisoft as now becoming far weaker, worth far less than it should be, and placing itself plump and ready for Tencent to walk in and swallow the entire company whole and obtain them, he stated. If this is true, that's dirty. I mean, it's brilliant, but it's also dirty. You know, I don't approve of that sort of takeover of a company. You know, what they did there was very dishonest, if that's the case. But, and it kind of gives Ubisoft a pass on this game to some degree. If it was Tencent that was pushing for this, even though they could have pushed back and said, no, we're not doing that, you know, whatever. But we know how gaming developers are these days and how much they want to please the vocal minority, the woke crowd, so to speak, for want of a better word, by creating characters that are LGBT, are, you know, black, female leads, whatever, anything other than a straight white guy. Not to say a Japanese samurai would have been white, but a lot of the woke left consider Asians, especially Japanese, to be quote-unquote white adjacent, which is basically, yeah, you're just a white guy with slightly different eyes and hair. I mean, that's really the way it is. It's very nasty and racist, to be honest with you. But anyway, as noted by Endymion in his video, Slovakian investment firm AJ Investments had accused both Ubisoft and Tencent of purposely tanking the company in order to lower the stock price to allow the Guillemot family and Tencent to purchase shares at a reduced price. The firm alleged in an open letter in September, "We believe that the Guillemot family and Tencent are discounting potential value of Ubisoft in order to buy more shares at lower valuation and eventually take full control of the company at heavily discounted valuation. We value the great work that has been done by the Guillemots over the decades in Ubisoft, but now is the time to move on and restart the business with a new shareholder approach and new management / CEO. Yves Guillemot is the current CEO at the time of filming, at least, and part of the Guillemot family. And yeah, he's a big proponent of all this woke garbage and all that. So it would be nice to see him gone. I don't know how Tencent would handle things. Tencent would probably, I think they're primarily a mobile gaming company. They could, they don't come across as like super woke or anything like that. At least nothing that I've heard of. Maybe we'd get a better game as far as that aspect is, but I have a feeling we'd also see even heavier monetization inside of a single player game than we do now, because that's the way mobile games work. They're heavy on monetization, even if it's just a buck here, $2 there, whatever. Speed things up, gain extra lives, $1. I could see that happening in regular old Ubisoft single player games if they take over. But yeah. Anyway, furthermore, it even pointed to Ubisoft delaying titles as being part of the strategy. In our view, recent delays of certain titles there are creating uncertainty amongst investors. It's beneficial for Guillemot and Tencent in order to acquire more shares at even discounted valuation, as Ubisoft is currently trading close to €15 per share, lowest point since 2015, giving Ubisoft valuation less than €2 billion. Wow. The firm also alleged that the Guillemot family and Tencent's collaboration blocked potential acquisitions and partnerships that could have been beneficial for the company and its shareholders. It cited a possible acquisition by KKR and Blackstone. I mean, Blackstone is just as bad as any of these other companies, for God's sake. Anyway, more recently in 2022, private equity firms such as KKR and Blackstone expressed interest in acquiring Ubisoft, but were unable to proceed due to existing agreements that prevent any single entity from gaining control without Guillemot and Tencent's consent. This pattern of blocking potential acquisitions has prevented much-needed restructuring and revitalization that will benefit all the stakeholders of Ubisoft. Ubisoft's really suffering right now. For those of you who haven't been following, they released one quadruple A game this year, Skull and Bones. That was a miserable failure. Their AAA Star Wars game, Star Wars Outlaws, which undersold by 30% or so, something like that. They had scheduled the latest Assassin's Creed game, Shadows, set in feudal Japan, to come out in November. And that's got pushed back till next year. So, that's really been a rough year for these guys. Their X-Defiant game isn't doing so well. It's not bringing in the money or players that they thought it would. I think that's what it's called, right? X Defiant. That's one of those live service type games, you know. So, yeah, overall they're not doing great. Um, the the staff is talking about striking. They're being urged to strike. You know, you've got vice presidents in different positions speaking out and saying things out of turn that they shouldn't be saying. That's further alienating the players from the company. I don't know if it was this year or last year. Somebody mentioned something like players should get used to not owning their games in regards to Ubisoft games, for instance. And that was in the wake of them shutting down single player games and not allowing people to access them anymore that they've had for years. You know, I mean, they were multiplayer games, but they did have single player content. If I'm getting it right, if I'm getting it wrong, let me know. But it was something along those lines. But there was no reason for it to happen where you should still be able to at least access some of the content. You know, if you can't get all of it because it's multiplayer, that's kind of the risk you take whenever you buy into one of these multiplayer games, is that 5 years, 10 years, 3 months down the road, it might not be there depending on how well it does. So be careful with your money on those things. Endymion then shared his own observation. In a lot of ways, what Tencent is being accused of here is being the ones who torched your house to the ground and then refused to call the fire department to put it out. And then they suddenly show up a week later telling you later they'll rebuild your house if you'll pay them. It's a hell of a strategy move on their part, all things considered, effectively saving money by purposely ruining your competition and then rotting them from the inside out by telling them what to do, he added. There are rumors that there's going to be a lot more layoffs at Ubisoft in the upcoming couple months, so that's something to look forward to seeing. Not look forward to in a good way, but just to, that's a sign of a failing company, right? When you've got to lay off a lot of people, something's going wrong. You know, you're not meeting your sales quotas, you're not generating the income you should be generating, you're spending too much money, you have too much infrastructure, your gaming, your staff is bloated, whatever. Yeah, there's a lot of trouble there. That would help raise the value of the company a little bit, but are they going to wait till after the buyout to do something like that? Or I don't know. We'll have to see what happens here. And will there even be a buyout? There may not be. Anyway, interestingly, this tactic that Tencent is being accused of was posited by former Epic Games business development manager Alexei Savchenko in regards to Amazon taking over Games Workshop. He shared it on X back in April. You know, if I was Amazon, I would continue applying pressure with TV series for lore changes, dismantle Games Workshop relationships with the fan base, drop their price and just buy them penny on the dollars, and then launch TV. Faithful to lore, just saying. Yeah, he's talking about Warhammer there. That's I remember that quote and him saying that kind of stuff. YouTuber Razorfist also noted that the Chinese Communist Party is the primary funder of wokeness in the West, and no other country in the world comes within 500 miles of matching them. China's dirty. They won't allow this stuff for their own kids to see, but they'll corrupt ours with this kind of stuff. There's been people that have looked into TikTok and how the algorithms work there, and how it leads young people here in the United States down dark roads into all this weird transgender ideology, self-harm, all these kind of things that are negative for kids. The kids shouldn't be. They shouldn't be leading down these rabbit holes. They should be going to better places. You know, things that will help educate them and enrich them, as opposed to depress them and make them, and mess up their brains. But, that's kind of the insidious way of a communist party to defeat an enemy, is a lot of times they'll do it from within. Sometimes they want to do it without firing a shot. They'll infiltrate your government. They'll infiltrate your education. They'll infiltrate your entertainment. And they'll put out propaganda that will slowly deteriorate the minds of your country. I feel like that's what's happened here in the U.S., that communists have done that, and, we look around and we see all this corruption around us. A lot of people don't see it, and a lot of people defend it. A lot of people think there's nothing to it, but it's wrong. It goes against everything this country stands for. So that's why I fight, That's why a lot of people fight. Anyway, Razorfist explained, in 2022, the Soros Economic Development Fund, whose ESG spending dwarfs most governments in the West or East, yes, even the Middle East fellow noticers, committed over $100 million or $130 million to push ESG, DEI, and all-around wokeness in the West. By the end of 2023, annual Chinese funding of ESG, bridge, and DEI initiatives in the Americas totaled an estimated $4.5 trillion. He then noted this tactic that Endymion shared is what Chinese Communist Party does. All but ban ESG and all its multifarious manifestations at home, while exporting it everywhere the hell else. What do you make of this rumor? That is gross, man. And that's, that wouldn't shock me a single bit because, yeah, you don't allow it at home, but if you allow it elsewhere and you encourage it elsewhere, you weaken your potential enemies. And that's exactly what's happened to us here in the U.S. We've become a weak country. You look around, our people are weak, we're fat, we're lazy, we're weak, we're confused, we're depressed, everybody's on drugs. It's absolutely disgusting. And we're not in a position to defend ourselves right now. We are in trouble. So hopefully this is something that changes in the near future. You may think it's only bitching about a video game and a gender or a color or something like that, but it goes way, way, way beyond that. Pay attention, guys. Wake up. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching, everyone. Go ahead, leave a like on the video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel and ring that bell for notifications. As always, I'm Captain Beefy with the Game Vault. I will see you next time. Until then, peace.